Shri Srimad. Nitya Leela Pravista Om, His Divine Grace, to provide Charan Arvind Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, ISKCON's BBT founder, Acharya, Jagaguru Padita Bhavana, Srila Prabhupada Ki. Jaya Vishnu Pad, Paramahamsa Acharya, Astota, Shri Srimad. Leela Pravista, His Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Prabhupada Ki. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki. Shri Shri Radha Govinda Ki. Shri Radhastami Maha Mahotsav Ki. Yuga Dharma Shri Premanand Sankirtan Yagna Ki. Nitai Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanandi. Om Gyana-Timirandasya Jananjana-Shalakaya Chakshur-Umitam Yosna Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Didati Svapanati Vandeham Shri Guru Shivita Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savdutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam. Who knows how to turn these lights on? They were just on, somebody turned them off. I need them on. Everybody knows how to do it? Connor, you know how to turn these lights on? I want them on. You know how to do it? Yes or no? Vandeham Shri Guru Shivita Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadhutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Badan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishaka Vitam. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bando Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshvari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktabrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jayatam Surato Pangor Mama Mandama Tergati Matsarvasva Padambo Jo Radha Madana Mohano Dibyad Brindaranya Kalpajumada Srimad Ratnagara Singhasanasto Srimad Radha Shilagovinda Devo Prestalabi Savyamano Smarami Sriman Rasa Rasarambi Bamsi Bhatta Tatasti Taha Karshan Venu Svanar Gopir Gopinatha Striyestuna. So this is a very special day, very exalted day, a very confidential day, the celebration of the appearance of Srimati Radharani. The understanding of the conjugal love between Radha and Krishna is the very essence and meaning of spiritual life. Yet, to come to that stage where one can actually be qualified to enter, participate, and serve in that topmost sublime position and association, it requires absolute 100% purity of motive and intention, which ultimately is very good. Just like our experience in this material world is that especially in Kali Yuga, everyone has a different motivation and intention, different than what Krishna desires for them or from them. So, as Prabhupada describes in the first canto, this sets the stage for a great struggle and competition for existence. So there's so much sublime subject matter from Srila Prabhupada and the Acharyas who are in glorification of Shri Radha and Krishna, Srimati Radharani. So we will attempt to present some of these things which, in my humble realization, I feel are most sublime and important. And we'll try to make it in some type of order, but ultimately, because it's all spiritual, ultimately, exaltedly amazing spiritual topics, it can be approached from all different angles. One great Vaishnav Acharya, Prapodananda Saraswati Pad, the style of his writing, except for one of two of his books, was just like a kaleidoscopic, all-around glorification of the personality of Godhead, his associates, his holy dhams, like that. So even Shrutakirti asking Prabhupada, where should we read from, when Prabhupada asked to hear from his books, or Krishna books, perhaps specifically, anywhere you bite is sweet. So there's a very beautiful, important, and famous Ramananda Samvad, which compiles the 8th chapter of the Madhya Lila, talks between Lord Chaitanya and Ramananda Roy, where Ramananda Roy, he has already been approved and recommended and highlighted to his devotees and associates, Lord Chaitanya highlighting Ramananda Roy as being the topmost knower of the internal and confidential glories of Srimati Radharani, Radha and Krishna. And even further, Lord Chaitanya says, I do not know as much as he, and indeed, I go to him to hear these topics. Thank you. So towards the end of their meeting or conversation, Lord Chaitanya, he chose to ask Ramananda Roy questions. Simple questions, well, or like questions that seemed logical, that would elicit a pretty simple and straightforward response. Of all types of education, which is the most important? There is no education that is important other than the transcendental devotional service of Krishna. You see, in the world of illusion, they create these big universities, so-called centers of knowledge and wisdom. But the net result is that people do not become pure devotees of Krishna, and quite to the contrary, they go the opposite direction. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur had said, for example, that materialistic knowledge and education renders one more foolish than a donkey. And Prabhupada remarked that the illiteracy of India, he was commenting on this some 50 or 55 years ago, was a very good boon for India, because most of the population hasn't been trained up in all this foolish Darwinism, mundane science, and materialistic education, which directs one to simply fulfill the four main propensities that all material bodies have: eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. And think Prabhupada is saying that people thinking that they're becoming much more advanced in this age of materialism, but actually they're becoming more and more degraded. There is no education that is important other than the transcendental devotional service of Krishna. Out of all glorious activities, which is the most glorious? That person who is reputed to be a devotee of Lord Krishna enjoys the utmost fame and glory. Not cheap fame, but that fame or a sublime notoriety. Notoriety could be both, but in this age we use notoriety seems to think of someone who's famous for the wrong reasons, like Al Capone or some gangster or something. But you're noticed, Prabhupada said, in bringing the devotees to the Commonwealth Pier in Boston, some nearly 3 years after he docked there in September 1965, so this is May 1968, some 33 months later, and Prabhupada knew how to get there. It wasn't any GPS. So coming from the temple in Alston, which is due west of downtown Boston, and it's like quite a, Boston, like Washington, D.C., was set up to bewilder the British if they try to conquer. All the streets are like all over the place, this way and that. And Prabhupada knew exactly how to get down there. And he's walking, very grave and serious, and written on one of the buildings along the pier, it said, "Unalloyed steel." And Prabhupada remarked, they have unalloyed steel, but we have, guess, unalloyed devotion. He said, we're prepared to speak in the wilderness. If a pack of asses, a whole bunch of materialistic people say that you're good, what is that? Meaningless. But we want a certificate from Krishna that this man has done something for me. Fame in the material world, if it's not immediately perceivable, then what's the point? Or infamy. This person is disgraced in a certain way. But on the transcendental platform, Krishna knowing the inner heart and intention of the devotee, and Prabhupada writes in one place, recording that for the devotee's future glorification. And because the devotee's activities are based on Shreyas, their devotees are Shrestha, Shreyasi. We say every other week when we're glorifying Lord Chaitanya's Shashashtanga prayers, Shreya Karaiva Chandrika Vitarana. What is it better, to be Shreyasi or Preyasi? What is Preyas? I want immediate benefit and I want it now. By hook or by crook, I don't care what it takes or who I hurt or how I even harm myself, but I want it. That's lust. Whereas Shreyas is not only just long-term benefit, but ultimate benefit. Shreya Uttamam. Be thou happy by this sacrifice, because by its performance, all desirable things will be bestowed upon you. So for a sane man or for an honest person, what is worthy of desire? 3 categories, basically. So in this world, we have to keep our body and mind in some type of functional position, comfortable. So we get our bhukti, we get our comfortable living in this world. Prabhupada said, Krishna's taking care of all living entities. You don't think he's going to take direct care of his devotees or are surrendered to spreading his mission? Prabhupada took great pride in his creating the temples. At his birth, he will open 108 temples where the devotees could live without, the the pressure and the howling wolf banging at the door, where's the money, and like the struggle for existence. Of course, the devotees work hard. They actually work more hard than the non-devotees. But because they work for Vishnu, they work for the ultimate goal, for Shreyas. It is not work like in the material world, but it is supremely blissful pleasure, which a devotee would not trade in for anything, in exchange for any type of material opulence in all the worlds. Actually, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he was ordered by Lord Chaitanya in the last 7 years of his manifest presence on this planet, 1907, 1914, to erect a bhajan kutir on the Chatak Parvat sand dunes at Jagannath Puri, which are non-different than Govardhan in Vrindavan, and simply chant the holy name. That is personally being given the license and authority by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself to perform such a feat. And he said that chanting will deliver the entire universe. So before entering into that complete samadhi absorption, his last writing, Sri Sri Sva Nayama Radhastakam, 12 verses of my own self-imposed regulative principles. And he gives very special and heartfelt loving glorification of Srimati Radharani here. And as Pancharatna Prabhu very expertly and lovingly brought out yesterday by reading the appropriate passages from Chaitanya Charitamrita, the non-dual identity of Shri Shri Radha and Krishna and Lord Chaitanya. The Supreme Lord Sri Krishna is the personified abode of all divinely ecstatic mellow tastes. And Sri Radhika is the topmost abode of all his divinely potent energies. Indeed, she is the personified form of the highest mellow of love and separation. Within the forest of Brinda, which is gloriously rich in the all-pervading treasure of the sweetest Madhurya Ras, this Lord Sri Krishna is continuously enjoying as he makes Sri Radhika happy by his loving service rendered to her 24 hours a day. This very same Lord Krishna is exactly identical to the son of Mother Sachi, who eternally lives simultaneously, yet separately, in Gaudadesh as the instructor of the process for rendering his own devotional service. May this Sachinandan become my supreme master and guide, and may he always appear to me just to lead me on the proper devotional path, birth after birth after birth. Also, Pancharatna Prabhu, he touched upon the first poem that Srila Prabhupada wrote, which was dated 5 days prior to docking in Boston, Commonwealth Pier, which begins with the very amazing statement, I emphatically say unto you, O brothers, you will obtain your good fortune from the Supreme Lord Krishna only when Srimati Radharani becomes pleased with you. So we are just hearing Bhaktivinoda Thakur, this is Krishna's business, making Srimati Radhika happy 24 hours a day. So she is Bhakti Devi, she is the via media for all living entities, devotional service. And you can hear the incredible position of Srimati Radharani described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita in particular, that she is simply concerned with engaging others in the Lord's service. Prabhupada writes in the ninth canto that this Krishna consciousness movement, even though Krishna is completely independent in fulfilling his desires, seemingly paradoxically or contradictory, he requires his devotees. And because Krishna is unlimited and his pleasure is unlimited, and the jivamsas, the jivas are unlimited, he wants more and more and more jivas to serve him. So this Krishna consciousness movement, Prabhupada writes there in the ninth canto, is an attempt to increase the pleasure potency of the Lord more and more. Anyone who sincerely helps in this effort will become a controller of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In other words, Krishna is controlled by pure devotion. So after making this statement, emphatically, what is emphatically? Let's get a dictionary definition. You know, it's like, no way, you must, have to, very strong.
Means to say or do something with great emphasis, force, or conviction. In a forceful way, without doubt, clearly.
Okay. And of course, you would do that, or you should do that, or say that, if what you're saying is 100% true, without the slightest doubt or ambiguity. So the pure devotee can make such an emphatic statement, because he's beyond the frailties of imperfect senses, the cheating propensity, etc. Then the very next statement in Prabhupada's prayer, and practically the whole rest of the poem, it just shifts right away. And this is very instructive for all of us. Sri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who is very dear to Lord Gauranga, Lord Chaitanya, the son of Mother Sachi, is unparalleled in his service to the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. He is that great, saintly, spiritual master who bestows intense devotion to Krishna at different places throughout the world. So this is the potency of a Mahabhagavat, a pure devotee, that he can, like a rising tide, make all the boats in the harbor just go up, against even their own, a boat, if it wants to stay down, the tide comes up, it has to go up, whether you like it or not. In the light of the Bhagavat. In the rainy season, what is it? I forget what it is. When the rain stops, if something happens and the frogs start croaking. So similarly, brahmacharis or students in the cultural institution of the spiritual master do not rise of their own accord unless a bell is sounded. So similarly, everyone is sleeping in the darkness of ignorance in this Kali Yuga, and by the call of a great acharya, do people actually rise up and perform the absolutely necessary duties of human life. I have created your good fortune. You have been sent by my spiritual master. He directed you to take your birth here and come of age when I would come. And as a young adult, be fully ready to help me. Prabhupada went into ecstasy in Mayapur. I am an old man. I have no chance, but you are all young men. Logically, Prabhupada, what he could do in 10 years, all of us combined, what we could do in 50 or 60 years, right? But still, he was encouraging. You have your whole life ahead of you. By his strong desire, his spiritual master, who he always gave all credit to, that's the secret of success. The holy name of Lord Gauranga will spread throughout the countries of the Western world. The Hare Krishna Maha Mantra as well. In all the cities, towns, and villages on the earth, from all the oceans, seas, rivers, and streams, everyone will chant the holy name of Krishna. So how can we understand that Srimati Radharani is pleased with us, as Bhaktivinoda Thakur, as Prabhupada is saying? That's the only time you'll get the mercy. How can we even hope to approach that? By rendering service to the pure devotee, great service is done, and one gains an affinity or the eligibility to hear the message of Godhead. As the vast mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu conquers all directions, a flood of transcendental ecstasy will certainly cover the land. When all the sinful, miserable living entities become happy, the Vaishnava's desire is then fulfilled. The Vaishnava's desire is non-different than the pleasure of Her Supreme Majesty Srimati Radharani. So this is how the service of Radha and Krishna, for us, actually for everyone, is manifest in this world. Although my Guru Maharaj ordered me to accomplish this mission, I'm not worthy or fit to do it. I'm very fallen and insignificant. Therefore, O Lord, now I am begging for your mercy so that I may become worthy, for you're the wisest and most experienced of all. So Prabhupada was very alert to anything in the Krishna consciousness movement that would derail, minimize, or adulterate the preaching mission. There was controversy in ISKCON in 1970, and it very much disturbed and discouraged Srila Prabhupada. And he ultimately made the decision to return to India. And he was asking some of his leaders, the ones who he felt were free from the controversy, for their advice and opinion. And he asked Dayananda, "What do you think I should do?" And Dayananda, my spiritual master is asking me for advice. I should advise my spiritual master what he should do. I don't want to. So he thought of a crafty way to answer the question. Well, Srila Prabhupada, I think you should do whatever you want. And Srila Prabhupada, do whatever I want? I want to spread Krishna consciousness all over this planet. That's what I want to do. So Srila Prabhupada was giving class in Montreal on this day, Radhastami Day, 1968. And he begins by explaining the position of Krishna as the Supreme Spirit, the Supreme Brahman, the Para-Brahman. And to experience or understand just a little bit of that pleasure, great personalities since time immemorial have renounced the materialistic way of life. He mentions Bharat Maharaj, and Prabhupada even tells at the age of 24 years, he gave up his attractive wife, he gave up his kingdom, he gave up his opulences, everything, to search out Krishna in the forest. Lord Buddha was a prince. He's in the palace, all beautiful dancing girls. Kings enjoy dancing girls, beautiful women, or filled the whole palace. He gave that all up. So Krishna, when he wants to enjoy, so he is the Supreme Brahman, he cannot enjoy anything he can enjoy it in himself. Therefore, Radharani is the expansion of his pleasure potency. Krishna hasn't got to seek external things for his pleasure. No, he is full, Atmaram. So Radharani is expansion of Krishna. Krishna is the energetic, and Radharani is the energy. Just like the energy and energetic you cannot separate. Fire and heat, you cannot separate. Wherever there is fire, there is heat. And wherever there is heat, there is fire. Similarly, there is Krishna. Wherever there is Krishna, there is Radha. I believe it was in Los Angeles, and I think they were cleaning the altar. I forget the exact circumstance, but Prabhupada came to take darshan, and Radharani was like 6 or 8 feet on the other side of the altar, and Prabhupada became furious. They should never be separated. Wherever there is Radha, there is Krishna. They are inseparable. But he is enjoying. So Swarup Damodar Goswami has described this intricate philosophy of Radha and Krishna in one verse, very nice verse, Radha Krishna Prayana Vakvatir Ladini Shaktir Asmad Ekatmanav Api Vipuvi Pura Dehabedam Gatoto. So Radha and Krishna is the one supreme, but in order to enjoy, they have divided into two. Again, Lord Chaitanya joined the two into one. Chaitanyakyam Prakritam Aduna. That one means Krishna in the ecstasy of Radha. Sometimes Krishna is in the ecstasy of Radha. Sometimes Radha is in the ecstasy of Krishna. So as Radharani is on this day, the second initiation in ISKCON took place in 1966. And who was initiated? Brahmananda, Sasvarup, Maharaj, Kirtananda, and Gargamuni was later. So Prabhupada said, very simple, Radharani is the best devotee of Krishna because she loves him the most. Krishna is very strict and hard, so he makes us fast until midnight on his birthday. But Radharani, she's very soft and kind, so we only have to fast until noon on her birthday. So, Radha Krishna philosophy is a very great philosophy. It is to be understood in the liberated stage. Radha Krishna philosophy is not to be understood in the conditioned stage. But when we worship Radha and Krishna in our conditional stage, actually the worship is of Lakshmi Narayan. So we say, "O Lord, this material body is a lump of ignorance, and the senses are networks of paths leading unto death." To take the spiritual life is more or less a declaration of war against the illusory energy. And she tries to defeat the practitioner with various allurements. They become restless, and the association of wealth and women is not at all an astonishment, because one has been associated with these things since a very remote time, practically since time immemorial, and it takes time to recover from the foreign atmosphere. So Prabhupada engaged us in preaching, in distributing Krishna consciousness, and assured us this will always keep you safe and protected. When Priyabrata Maharaj, the son of Swayambhuva Manu, was being trained by Narada Muni to become a Naistik brahmachari, Narada Muni has a tendency to do that, as he did with the Haryashvas and then their younger brothers, the Shalyasvas, who that angered Prajapati Daksha, who we're about to hear about in our 4th canto, who then later reincarnated in a different way in the 6th canto, but still hadn't learned his lesson not to interfere with the activities of great devotees. You'll hear all about that in due course of time. So ultimately, Lord Brahma is the grandfather of Priyabrata Maharaj, and he's also the father of Narada Muni, and he's also the original demigod in this universe. He's the Adi Kavaye. So he came and with reason and logic, he convinced Priyabrata Maharaj you got to get married, you're going to be the emperor of the whole universe, you're going to have all this opulence, but it's devotional service that has to be done. actually he became a little bit overwhelmed by all this, and he realized at a certain point, then he again took to the activities of renunciation and detachment that he was practicing under the guidance of Narada Muni in his younger days. So just like brahmachari, grihasta, retired life, vanaprastha, and then you can, in full renunciation, free from the danger of being attracted by material desires, you could walk this world free and clear from any fearfulness of being bewildered once again. So Prabhupada writes in that regard that similarly the devotees, they've been ordered by Lord Chaitanya to situate themselves in big, heavy, materialistic cities. And he lists them like New York, Los Angeles, Stockholm, London, Frankfurt, maybe a few others, where the materialistic way of life is very predominant. But he has blessed them, Lord Chaitanya. Quite to the contrary, this will guarantee you to come back home, back to Godhead, and have perpetual association with me, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And let's keep in mind, what is that? Where did I put it? What is that association? What is that exalted? Where did I put? Bhaktivinoda Thakur's booklet. Where did I put it? It's not here. Oh, here it is. Okay. And just see how Bhaktivinoda Thakur, has focused and made very accurate his thinking and meditation. Let no form of so-called renunciation or asceticism become fit for my acceptance if it does not give rise to the continual expansion of my eternal serving mood of loving devotion. So Prabhupada, by his own personal example, he was always conscious of expanding the preaching mission right up to the very last moment of his presence here. Udayananda Prabhu and Govardhan, they were in Detroit. They came to visit Srila Prabhupada after the incredibly good public relations marriage of Lekha Shravanti Bhushaya, I believe the husband's name, but anyway, Ambarish, Alfred Ford was the best man, and Lekha Shravanti is the daughter of Walter Reuther, the founder of the United Auto Workers Union, who went up against Henry Ford and just the whole mafia-like monopoly, which was really putting the workers into practically slavery, the way they were being treated. So they were at odds with each other as anyone could be at odds with each other that you can think of, So their descendants now come together to teach and spread a doctrine of peace and love and acceptance. Mukunda Maharaj, who was involved in ISKCON Communications, it was called at the time, he arranged, he got Time Magazine and New York Times and Newsweek, all the big Chicago Tribune, everywhere, everything. And it began, and so Prabhupada was seeing all of the pictures of this, and he started to cry. And even the devotees were criticizing because $10,000, that's a lot of money back then, was spent on the wedding. And Prabhupada said, actually, this is very good use of money. So then a report came in from the 55th Street Temple of book distribution and the preaching activities. And Prabhupada, he had just a month earlier had returned from an attempted trip around the world. London, the itinerary was London, New York, Gita Nagari, Los Angeles, Hawaii. Of course, only made it as far as London. And so and Udayananda, he's saying, this is October, late September, very soon till Prabhupada's departure, he said, I want to be with my New York preachers. This is life. Not just, I don't want to be laying here like this. Take me. And if I pass away, there's no loss whatsoever. You make my samadhi on the roof of the 55th Street Temple. Prabhupada held New York very, very, very dear to his heart. Praghosh Prabhu, who was based in New York in the summer of 1976, came down to Washington, Potomac, when Prabhupada was there just before coming to New York. He was there for the 4th of July. And so Prabhupada is returning to his room at twilight, and Praghosh is returning from the airport. And so Prabhupada says, "Oh, where are you coming from?" "We're coming from the airport, Srila Prabhupada. We were distributing your books." "Oh, really? Come into my room and tell me all about it." And he was being very friendly. And he said, "Are you hungry?" "Yes, Srila Prabhupada, I'm hungry." And he asked the servant, "Give them some prasad." "But Srila Prabhupada, there's no prasadam, there's only ice cream." "Ice cream. Mango ice cream." "Mango ice cream. You like ice cream?" "Yes, Srila Prabhupada." So he's saying, are you here in Washington, D.C.? "No, Srila Prabhupada, I'm in New York." And Prabhupada, very innocent and childlike, "Oh, I started in New York too." Like everybody in the movement doesn't know that, It's like Prabhupada is just remarking just so humbly. "And let no form of so-called knowledge or intellectual cultivation appeal to me at all if it does not admit the reality of eternal individuality shared by the Lord and His devotees during their everlasting daily pastimes." Personalism. That's something that everyone is starving for. So devotees really have personalism. "I have no desire at all for practicing any branch of the Eightfold Yoga process. For none of these contain any scope for enjoying the daily pleasure of serving Lord Hari, such as his confidential worship does. Rather, may I render profuse, uninterrupted, confidential service 24 hours a day to Sri Sri Radha and Krishna for all of time to come, for such service being the means as well as the end." So Srila Prabhupada, again, by his example and by all of his strong warning and admonishment, told us never to waver or minimize the preaching mission, and have full confidence that by sticking to this principle, it says preaching is the essence, all success is there automatically. Radha Krishna worship is on the platform of pure love, and Lakshmi Narayan worship is on the regulative principles. So long we do not develop our pure love, we have to worship on the regulative principles. One has to become a brahmachari, one has to become a sannyasi, one has to perform the worship in this way. In the morning he has to rise, he has to offer. So many rules and regulations. There are at least 64 rules and regulations. So I shall introduce them gradually as you develop. So in the Vidhi Marg, when you have no love for God or Krishna, we have to follow the regulative principles, and then automatically there is practice. Just like you were practicing mridanga. In the beginning it is not in order, but when you become well versed in the practice, the sound will come very nicely. Similarly, when we are engaged by regulative principles in the worship of Radha and Krishna, that is called Vidhi Marg. And actually, when you are on the love platform, that is called Raga Marg. So without Vidhi Marg, if anyone wants to learn the Raga Marg immediately, that is foolishness. That is foolishness. Nobody can pass MA examination without going through the regulative principles of primary schools and colleges. So therefore, I mean to say, indulge in the discussions of Radha and Krishna so easily. Rather, go on with the regulative principles in the present moment. Gradually, as you become purified, as you become on the transcendental platform, you'll understand what is Radha and Krishna. Don't try to understand Radha and Krishna very quickly. It is a very big subject. If we want to understand Radha and Krishna very quickly, there will be so many Prakrita Sahajiyas. In India, there are Prakrita Sahajiyas. Nanda Kumar was describing at one big Pandal program, some man came up and was just demonstrating all of this so-called ecstasy, swooning and fainting and just like sighing and this and that, and then falling down and rolling on the ground. And Prabhupada instructed, he said to Nanda Kumar, get a bucket of water and throw it on him. Of course he didn't do that, but just like Radha Krishna dancing, Radha Krishna has become a plaything. The painting Radha Krishna. Krishna is kissing, Radha is kissing. These are all nonsense. Radha Krishna philosophy has to be understood by the liberated person, not by the conditioned soul. So we shall await for the fortunate moment when we are liberated. Then we shall understand Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikritir. Because Krishna and Radha, they are not on the material field. Try to understand. This is Jiva Goswami's analysis, that Krishna is the Supreme Brahman. The Supreme Brahman cannot accept anything material. So Radha is not in the material field. Out of all glorious activities, which is the most glorious? That person who is reputed to be a devotee of Lord Krishna enjoys the utmost fame and glory. Of many capitalists who possess great riches, who is the topmost? He who is richest in love for Radha and Krishna is the greatest capitalist. Of all kinds of distress, what is the most painful? Apart from the separation from the devotee of Krishna, I know of no unbearable happiness. Unbearable unhappiness. Yet at the same time, separation from the pure devotee, over time, it deepens and expands the love. I think we were mentioning earlier, previous class, I forget the devotee's name. He was saying that he was raised by a stepfather, and he was very kind, and he raised 3 kids that weren't his own, and he passed away at the same time that Srila Prabhupada departed the planet. And I think of him, like it was 47, 48 years later. From time to time, he was a good man. But Srila Prabhupada, I think of him more every day, all the time, more and more. So we're not separated. Separation, actually Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, at the time of his passing, he recommended, and there's Narottam Das Thakur, who certainly can understand the mellows of Vipralambha, having taken his birth in this world in the year that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left the planet. Yeya Nilo Premadana Karuna Prachur. I will smash my head against the rock and enter into the fire. Where will I find Lord Chaitanya, the reservoir of all great transcendental qualities? He said, love, he used the word rupture, but separation. This is the path that Narottam Das Thakur followed. This is a good path to follow. We should also follow this way. Of all liberated persons, who should be accepted as the greatest? He who has love for Krishna has attained the topmost liberation. All desirable things, you'll get your comfortable living in this material world. You'll get your mukti at the time of death. But the ultimate necessity, prema pamartha mohan. And that includes mukti and bhukti, automatically. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, understanding the value of being placed where the Lord wants you to be, whether it be heaven or hell, from a materialistic observation. Just see what he says here. May I continually reside in a small, lonely cottage. Of course, he was given this authority. Not that we should now imitate Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Haridas Thakur when we're young men, 25, 30 years old, and abandon the hard work of preaching. May I continuously reside in a small, lonely cottage at the base of a desire tree in the most holy abode of Sri Navadvip Dham, which is sanctified by the lotus feet of Sri Sachinandan. Such a bhajan kutir is perfectly suitable for constant remembrance of and services to the divine daily sports that are always present in Sri Brajadam. Indeed, in contrast to this, I will never live in any other place, even if it is hankered for with great enthusiasm by the most wise sages and demigods of all sorts. As far as all other places in this world are concerned, whether opulent palaces or temples, whether possessing vast riches of enormous wealth or princely kingdoms and property, all such places cannot attract me as much as my modest bhajan kutir in Sri Navadvip Dham does. So Prabhupada recommended and taught to us Prabhu Datta Desh, the place awarded to the disciple where he performs his devotional service, his place of residence. And everything is available there. Prabhupada, he envisioned and he taught that all the temples of ISKCON are expansions of the holy dhams. To erect a transcendental place of pilgrimage for the entire world to take shelter. That is the Sri Sri Radha Govinda Mandir, which has a lot of square footage. We could fit a lot, and when we build and expand, the ultimate dream is to create 17 stories next door to give more and more devotees a chance to reside at the lotus feet of Sri Sri Radha Govinda. This is with Prabhupada's desire. Come live with us. We will solve all your problems. What is the difficulty? Among many songs, which song is to be considered the actual religion of the living entity? Ramananda Roy replied, that song describing the loving affairs of Radha and Krishna is superior to all other songs. So the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, Radharani is in veiled form. She's not directly presented. So we do not chant Radharani's name to such an extent, and this betrays good intelligence to do so, that most people, practically 99% of everyone, is going to make this mistake of thinking Radharani is an ordinary woman. And they, oh yes, I understand these conjugal affairs of Radha and Krishna. It's just like name some celebrity and their licentious boyfriend or something. This is as far away from reality as reality can be far away from anything. So to safeguard and to not give people a chance to commit this terrible offense, which is based on impersonalism and voidism ultimately, we refrain. But Radharani is completely present in the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Srila Prabhupada, in regards to the variegatedness of Radha and Krishna, like we're dressing them in all varieties of beautiful clothes and ornaments, it's the same Krishna, the same Radharani, but in a new feature. Different colors, different textures, different patterns, different moods, based on the seasons, based on even the day of the week. So Prabhupada, after opening the Krishna Balaram Mandir in April 1975, he went to New Delhi, which was a small temple then, and he was kind of relaxing after the huge effort, which Shrutakirti said when asked, when did you see Srila Prabhupada the most happy? And he said, when Prabhupada offered the first arti to Krishna and Balaram, and correspondingly, Shruta Kirti, when did you see Prabhupada the most upset? Chastising the Gopi Bhava Club in Los Angeles. One of Srila Prabhupada's team devotees, Sanskrit editor, had gone to Radha Kund and was hearing intimately from, I won't say his name, but there's a whole sampradaya, or sampradayas, Radhakund Babaji's, who consider the entire Saraswat line bogus or unauthorized. I'm not going to describe the particulars. So anyway, Prabhupada heard that his disciple was taking that association and became livid with anger and ordered him never to go back there. You remain here with me. Do not become a monkey. Non-devotees are strictly prohibited from participating in songs celebrating the loving affairs of Radha and Krishna. Unless one is a devotee, it is very dangerous to hear the songs about the pastimes of Radha and Krishna that were written by Jayadeva Goswami, Chandidas, and other exalted devotees. So we don't do that, especially when we have a public program. Lord Shiva drank an ocean of poison. But one should not imitate this. One must first become a pure devotee of Lord Krishna. Only then one can enjoy hearing the songs of Jayadev and relish transcendental bliss. If one simply imitates the activities of Lord Shiva and drinks poison, one will certainly meet with death. Talks between Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Rai were meant for advanced devotees only. Those who are on the mundane platform and who study these talks in order to put forward some thesis for a PhD will not be able to understand them. Instead, these conversations will have a poisonous effect. So Atmanavedana Prabhu, who is now, along with his wife, been very nicely maintaining weekly Bhagavad Gita class at the holy place of 26 Second Avenue for maybe like a year and 3 months more than me, doing the Harinams. He's like my older brother, you know. When you're a kid, you're 12. No, I'm not 12. I'm 12 and a half. Okay, all right. I'm sorry to, So he joined as a brand new devotee. He was going to some prestigious school in Boston. It was like 1990, 1991. And he had like some Gita Govinda by Diana Eck, who was like the Harvard University. And it was like, if you know what is Gita Govinda, I mean, my goodness, And here's just some like 19, 20-year-old kid, and he's studying this for his, whatever the course is called. And I said, this is nonsense, He remembers this to this day, how I chastised him for not reading. Out of all auspicious and beneficial activities, which is the best for all living entities? The only auspicious activity is association with devotees of Krishna. And a statement from the second chapter of the 11th canto, Marge Nimi, instructed by the Nava-Yogendras. We are asking the most perfect welfare activity for you. I think that in this material world, association with devotees, even if it be for a moment. So we shouldn't lose heart when people walk by the Harinam. They're not like stopping. They don't even take a pamphlet. They're getting the association of pure devotees and devotees doing the best possible thing that they could be doing, to see them in their activities, chanting the divine name of Radha and Krishna, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Narottam Das Thakur, he has very powerful realization of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra.
Take great care only to serve the divine couple, and don't let any other activity touch you. Know that the chanting of the holy names of Sri Sri Radha and Krishna, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Oh, so Prabhupada was in Delhi, and he called for bhajans, he called for chanting, and they were chanting different melodies of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And Prabhupada said, he affirmed, this is the way to please Krishna, by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra in all different varieties of melodies. So these people who come and say, oh, you only have to chant the Prabhupada tune, and they're, let's say, propounding that idea with a incomplete, okay, I'll say it, a poor fund of knowledge. If you were to dress, so Krishna wears a yellow dhoti. So every day, yellow dhoti. No change. 365 days a year. Same thing. I would think in some devotees' minds, oh, I mean, it's all, you know, it's the same thing every day, you know. But every day is a festival because it's something new. And even twice a day, or on festival days, 3 or 4 times in a day. So, if Krishna is the source of all mellow tastes, all varieties of pleasure, and his holy name is non-different than him, so this is not wrong, but it is actually the most recommended thing. And it's not our enjoyment. Oh, I really enjoyed that kirtan, Prabhupada said. And correct. Krishna is pleased by our glorification of him in a different nuance or flavor, and he will award us varieties of pleasurable experiences. Because Krishna, he wants to see his devotees happy. And actually, Prabhupada, he's lying on his, and Tamal Krishna Maharaj, he's like preparing Udayananda and Govardhan. You know, you're going to see Prabhupada in such a way that you never saw him before. So I just want to mentally prepare you. And please don't cry. We don't want to disturb Prabhupada. We just want everything to be upbeat and encouraging. Okay, we'll do our best. And Govardhan, he kind of lost it. And he was like, as quiet as he possibly could, he was sobbing. But Udayananda became the person that Prabhupada was having the conversation with. And he was saying, and they had just got off the taxi, off the plane, and put their bag down in the guest house. And like 2 minutes later, Prabhupada wants to see you. Is everything all right? Are your accommodations okay? Are you getting nice prasadam? How is Lake Shravanti? How is Ambarish? Are they happy in Krishna consciousness? Are they chanting Hare Krishna? The Kaviraj and the doctors, anyone in this condition, they'd be like in such intense pain and agony. This is the Kaveri, I understood that your spiritual master is a Maha Bhagavat. He's completely detached from the material body. Ramananda, he had gotten some type of illness, a fever, and he was like absent for a week. And he finally came back into Prabhupada's presence. Prabhupada's eyesight was failing. And he said, who? Brahmananda. Oh, come here. You all right? I heard you were sick. And Brahmananda started to cry. Here's Srila Prabhupada in such a condition, and he's simply concerned with everyone else's well-being. Know that the chanting of the holy names of Sri Sri Radha and Krishna is the supreme spiritual meditation. Please don't try to raise any objections to this or try to present evidence confirming any other view. Because if you do, you'll just be making a grand fool of yourself. O mind, please engage in pure devotional service, which cannot be followed by the fruit of workers, speculative philosophers, or pseudo-devotees. Just accept that the opinion of the exalted devotees in Braja is the perfect explanation of the absolute truth. So when the pure devotees of Braja come to this world, they are engaged in spreading Krishna consciousness. In the beginning of Adi Leela chapter 7, I believe it's verses 15 through 17, only with these most confidential internal Madhurya Bhaktas especially does the Lord advent to propagate the Sankirtan movement while doing that propagation, simultaneously taste a very special mellow of reciprocation that's not even available in their direct relationship in Krishna Lila. Therefore, for the devotees in this movement, they can participate simultaneously in the Nitya Yoga Peeth of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Nitya Navadvip section of Goloka Vrindavan, at the same time in the place of Krishna directly in Goloka Vrindavan, simultaneously. There's a wonderful book of Kavi Karnapur, the younger son of Shivananda Sain, who Lord Chaitanya allowed him as a baby to suck his big toe, has given us Gaura Gonadesh Deepika, which is a catalog of all the great devotees of Lord Chaitanya, who they are in Krishna Lila. I shall continually offer prayers to the divine couple, and I shall describe the pure love of the Lord and his devotees. With my words, I shall prove that the Supreme Lord is non-different from the chanting of his holy names. This is a very, very good use of your intellectual abilities and your abilities to argue and conclusively defeat in debate, is to convince everyone that the Lord is non-different than his holy name, the chanting of his holy name. O mind, have firm faith in Lord Krishna and worship the reddish soles of his lotus feet. Do this, and the karmic results of all your past sins will be smashed. O mind, please place in my heart Shri Shri Radha and Krishna's lotus feet, which are my only treasure. Again and again hear the holy names of the divine couple from the mouths of the devotees, and in this way attain transcendental bliss. Srimati Radharani's transcendental form has the splendor of gold. Weeping, I pray to attain the glance of her lotus eyes. Sri Krishna's handsome form is as splendid as a monsoon cloud. From it, the entire material cosmos is manifested. In the glorification of Srimati Radharani in the talks between Lord Chaitanya and Ramananda Roy, he includes Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, who heard daily for 3 hours a day from his Shiksha spiritual master, Raghunath Das Goswami, who lived with Lord Chaitanya and Swarup Damodar at Jagannath Puri for 12 years. And Raghunath Das Goswami, so much absorbed in internal bhajan, whatever writings he left are not very many, very rare and exalted. He compiled the Stavavali, which means collection of prayers. And this is a very nice description in terms of looking at the form and dress of Srimati Radharani, comparing it to saintly emotions and feelings. And it is a very nice meditation for the worship of Radha and Krishna, particularly their bathing. So we're having a nice abhishek tonight. So let us take this as an inspiration. Okay, where are we here? Okay, here we are. Here's a question. What is the essence of spiritual life? The supreme ecstasy of Srimati Radharani is the essence of spiritual life. Her only business is to fulfill all desires of Krishna. Srimati Radharani is the topmost spiritual gem, and the other gopis, Lalita, Vishaka, and so on, are expansions of her spiritual body. Srimati Radharani's transcendental body is brilliant in luster and full of all transcendental flavors. Lord Krishna's affection for her is like a perfumed massage. Sugandhi Udvartana refers to a paste made of several perfumes and flavored oils. This paste is massaged all over the body, and in this way the body's dirt and perspiration are removed. Srimati Radharani's body is automatically performed, but when her body is massaged with the scented paste of Lord Krishna's affection, her entire body is doubly perfumed and made brilliant and lustrous. This is the beginning of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami's description of Srimati Radharani's transcendental body. This description is based on the book known as Premam Bhoja Mardana, compiled by Srila Raghunath Das Goswami. A translation of the original Sanskrit is described by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and it reads as follows. The love of the gopis for Krishna is full of transcendental ecstasy. It appears to be a brilliant jewel. And enlightened by such a transcendental jewel, Radharani's body is further perfumed and decorated with kumkum. In the morning, her body is bathed in the nectar of compassion. In the afternoon, in the nectar of youth. And in the evening, in the nectar of luster itself. In this way, the bathing is performed, and her body becomes as brilliant as the Chintamani jewel. Her dress is composed of various kinds of silken garments, which may be compared to her natural shyness. When Lord Vishnu appeared in the sacrificial arena of Daksha after everything was set right and everybody came to their senses and asked for forgiveness, etc., different demigods and members of the assembly and saintly persons offered prayers, and there's one purport where Prabhupada, he writes that by minutely and by carefully dressing the deities of Radha and Krishna, one becomes an intimate knower of all the Vedic conclusions. And in the evening, in the nectar of luster itself. In this way, the bathing is performed, and her body becomes as brilliant as the Chintamani jewel. Her dress is composed of various kinds of silken garments, which may be compared to her natural shyness. Her beauty is more and more enhanced, being decorated with kumkum, which is compared to beauty itself, and with blackish musk, which is compared to conjugal love. Thus, her body is decorated with different colors. The kumkum is red, and the musk is black. Her ornaments embody the natural symptoms of ecstasy: trembling, tears, jubilation, stunning, perspiration, faltering of the voice, bodily redness, madness, and dullness. In this way, the entire body is bedecked with these 9 different jewels. Over and above this, the beauty of her body is enhanced by her transcendental qualities, which hang as a flower garland on her body. The ecstasy of love for Krishna is known as dhira and adhira, sober and restless. Such ecstasy constitutes the covering of Srimati Radharani's body, and it is adorned by camphor. Her transcendental anger toward Krishna is embodied as the arrangement of the hair on her head. And the tilak of her great fortune shines on her beautiful forehead. The earrings of Srimati Radharani are the holy names of Krishna, as well as the hearing of his name and fame. Her lips are always reddish due to the betel nut of ecstatic affection for Krishna. The black ointment around her eyes is her tricky behavior with Krishna, brought about by love. Actually, Raghunath Das Goswami, he wrote the Dan Keli Chintamani. So we have our ISKCON Govardhan, which was a very beautiful kingly home from the middle 1800s that was acquired by Tamal Krishna Maharaj and Giriraj Swami. And just across the road is the place of the toll pastime of Krishna, Dan Nivartan Kund. And Rupa Goswami also, he has written the Dan Keli Kamudi, which is in the form of a one-act play. So in the prologue verses, may the sight of Srimati Radharani's Kila Kinchita ecstasy, which is like a bouquet, bring good fortune to all. When Krishna blocked Radharani's way to the Dan Gati, there was laughter within her heart. Her eyes grew bright, and fresh tears flowed from her eyes, reddening them. Due to her sweet relationship with Krishna, her eyes were enthusiastic, and when her crying subsided, she appeared even more beautiful. And we brought this forward recently. We'll say it again. All glories to Radha's love for Krishna, the enemy of the demon Mora. Although it is all-pervading, it tends to increase at every moment. Although it is important, it is devoid of pride. And although it is pure, it is always beset with duplicity. The black ointment around her eyes is her tricky behavior with Krishna brought about by love. Her joking with Krishna and gentle smiling is the camphor with which she is perfumed. She sleeps in her room with the aroma of pride, and when she lies down in her bed, the transcendental variety of her loving ecstasies is like a jeweled locket in the midst of her necklace of separation. Her transcendental breasts are covered by her sari in the form of affection and anger towards Krishna. She has a stringed instrument known as a kachapi veena, which is the fame and fortune that actually dries up the faces and breasts of the other gopis. She always keeps her hand on the shoulder of her gopi friend, who is compared to her youthful beauty, and although she is highly qualified with so many spiritual assets, she is nonetheless affected by the Cupid known as Krishna, thus she is defeated. Srila Raghunath Das Goswami offers his respectful obeisances to Srimati Radharani, taking a straw in his mouth, and deity praise, O Gandharvika, Srimati Radharani, just as Lord Krishna never rejects a surrendered soul, please don't reject me. I have no attachment at all to any of the caste divisions of society, such as a Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Sudra. And I certainly do not identify with any order of life, such as Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, or Sannyas. I have no fondness or respect at all for the so-called piety or religiosity, or even for the so-called impiety of sinful life in this world. Not even the slightest regard. So where is this heading? Instead, I truly desire whatever is practically required just to maintain this material body in order to facilitate my performance of pure devotional service. This is the actual righteousness that I will hope for as long as this material body continues to exist. Repulsion from those things which are disconnected from Sri Radhika. I have no attraction for living in Vaikuntha, that part of the spiritual sky presided over by Sri Sri Lakshmi Narayan, nor do I desire the useless activities of gross sense gratification in this material world. I will never cherish the desire for attaining the divine bliss of impersonalistic liberation, even for a second. Furthermore, there are many transcendental pastimes of Sri Hari that may be very purifying for all conditioned souls, yet such pastimes will never ever give me any real happiness at all. This is because such pastimes are quite different from the blissful ecstasies of Braja consciousness, being completely devoid of any relationship with Sri Radhika, who is the one and only fountainhead of pure joy. avoidance of so-called devotees who proudly neglect Sri Radhika. There are certain persons who appear to be very advanced in devotion. Indeed, to increase their service to the Lord, they have long since rejected the evil company of those who are completely blinded by faulty arguments arising from so-called intellectual logic, those who are madly addicted to the fleeting pleasures of the dull material body, those who are averse to and envious of Lord Sri Krishna, and those who are very fond of the inferior, distasteful concept of liberation as is cherished by the impersonalists. Thus, they have favorably avoided all kinds of bad association, yet it is seen that such persons worship Lord Govinda without Srimati Radharani being present. This just shows that they are actually puffed up with excessive pride and a conceited arrogance directed against Sri Radhika, who is herself the best worshipper of Govinda. Therefore, I will never ever go anywhere near such so-called devotees, even for a second. This is my strict vow. And I'll read one more from this. There was a class of pure... Okay, what is this? This is how to worship the lotus feet of Sri Radhika's pure devotee. There is a class of pure devotee who is completely expert and experienced in following all the instructions of Sri Sachinandan. Such a devotee incessantly worships Srimati Radharani exclusively, who is indeed the most worshipful personality and who is deeply absorbed every day in relishing the divine mellows of Sri Krishna's association. The pure devotee of this caliber definitely performs his confidential worship wholeheartedly and with exclusive surrender unto Sri Radhika. Thus he always lives in Sri Braj Mandal. I shall take the nectarian water that has washed the lotus feet of such a devotee and carry it on my head. Drinking it with great joy and with a devout heart, I will then happily offer my full prostrations upon the ground in the nicest, most perfect way that I possibly can. This will indeed be my routine each and every day. So, after this pastime of Prajapati Daksha, we will reach the very pure and glorious and powerful narration of Dhruva Maharaj in the 4th canto. And he was advised by his mother to seek out Krishna in the forest. This is his mother speaking. My dear Dhruva, as far as I am concerned, I do not find anyone who can mitigate your distress but the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose eyes are like lotus petals. May demigods such as Lord Brahma seek the pleasure of the goddess of fortune, but the goddess of fortune herself, with a lotus flower in her hand, is always ready to render service to the Supreme Lord. The great sage Maitreya continued. The instruction of Dhruva Maharaj's mother, Suniti, was actually meant for fulfilling his desired objective. Therefore, after deliberate consideration and with intelligence and fixed determination, he left his father's house. It is indicated in this connection that Dhruva Maharaj left his father's capital city to go to a secluded place to search out the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is the instruction of Prahlad Maharaj also that if one is seeking peace of mind, says Hiranyakashipu, what is the best thing you learned from your teacher? First time he asked that question. So one who is embarrassed by material life should go to the forest. He should free himself from all contamination of family life and take shelter of the Supreme Godhead by going to the forest. To the Gaudiya Vaishnava, this forest is the forest of Brinda or Brindavan. If one takes shelter of Brindavan under Brindavaneshwari, Srimati Radharani, certainly all the problems of his life are solved very easily. Okay, let's wrap it up. In Gitavali of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he has the Radhastakam, 9 songs in glorification of Srimati Radharani. Here is an excerpt. He who has failed to carefully worship the lotus feet of Srimati Radhika, which are the abode of all auspiciousness, he who has not taken shelter in the transcendental abode known as Vrindavan, which is decorated with a beautiful lotus flower named Radha, he who in this life is not associated with the devotees of Radhika, who are very wise, and whose devotion for Radha is very deep. How will such a person ever experience the bliss of bathing in the ocean of Lord Shyam's sublime mellows? Please understand this most attentively. Srimati Radhika is the exemplary teacher of the brilliant mellows of conjugal love. So Srimati Radharani is the ultimate supreme teacher of actually what is love. The pure love between Radha and Madhava is worthy of discussion and contemplation. He who has grasped hold of the lotus feet of Radha with great care obtains the lotus feet of Krishna, which are like priceless jewels. Without taking shelter of the lotus feet of Radha, one can never personally meet Lord Krishna. The Vedic scriptures declare that Krishna is the property of the maidservants of Sri Radha. Abandoning wealth, followers, wife, sons, and friends, and giving up materialistic activities and intellectual knowledge, being absorbed in the sweetness of service to the lotus feet of Srimati Radharani, this is Bhaktivinod's conviction. Sri Prema Samputa, the love locket, a discourse on the topmost form of selfless love, the purest revelation, spoken by Sri Radhika, the goddess of creation, by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, composed in Sanskrit on the banks of Shamakund, 1684 AD. Radha said, all the conceptions people have that Krishna and I both know each other's minds, or that we always like to be together with each other, are in fact greatly mistaken delusions. Such ideas are simply imposed upon us. Oh my, for in reality, Krishna and I have but one soul, and it is not possible for one soul to become two at any time. Just as a single lotus stem in a lake blooms forth 2 flowers, one blue and one yellow, similarly, our one soul manifesting here in Vrindavan within the lake full of extremely limitless rasa has sprouted forth our 2 bodies of blue and yellow color. Or we are just like an oil lamp with a single wick which is split at the top into 2, thereby forming a pair of immaculate flames that illuminate the darkness of each other's shadows. Similarly, our one soul manifests as 2 bodies that dispel each other's darkness of apparent separation. Appearing like this, we give pleasure to our devoted girlfriends, servants, who are always situated nearby. O Saki, if the wind of separation suddenly comes and causes the flames of our 2 bodies to flicker and almost go out, then our expert servants immediately become attentive to remedy this situation by surrounding us and giving us shelter from the wind. Thus, they carefully bring us into the calm house of happiness and thereby restore the brightness of our love flames. Thus, I have opened today wide this very best love locket of my heart of hearts and shown you its wealth of jewel-like secrets. May this rarely obtained vision dispel the darkness of all your doubts. O most auspicious one, now I request that you kindly keep these secret jewels hidden perpetually within your heart of hearts and never let them be seen by anyone. Shri Shri Radha Kripa Kataksha Stavaraj, the King of Prayers which petitions the most merciful sidelong glance from Srimati Radharani, spoken by Lord Shiva to Goddess Parvati in the Vaishnav Tantra named Urdhvamanaya Tantra. This is the most famous stotra in Sri Vrindavan, and all the sadhus and devoted Matajis know it by heart, and it is recited daily in most temples and villages. Even in some places it's written on the walls. Indeed, this prayer is regarded to be the very heart of Sri Vrindavan. So we'll look at one or two. Munindra Binda Bandite Triloka Soka Harini Prasana Vajraka Pankaje Nikunja Bhuvi Lasani Brajenja Banu Nandini Brajenja Suno Sangate Kadakarisha Sihamam Kripa Kataksha Bhajanam. O you who are adored by all the best of sages, O you who takes away all the miseries of the three material worlds, O you whose face joyfully blooms just like a lotus flower, O you who delights in playing love sports throughout the secret forest bower houses, O most charming daughter of Vishabhanu, the best of kings, O closest heartfelt companion of the son of the king of Braja, when, O when, will you make me the object of your sidelong glance of causeless mercy? O whose upraised hand bestows upon your devotees the benediction of absolute fearlessness. O fountainhead of profuse divine opulences. Ananta Koti Vishnu Loka Namra Padma Charchite Himajaja Paloma Java Rinchacha Varaprade Apara Siddhi Pridhi Digda Sat Pandanguli Nake Kadakarisha Sihamam Kataksha Kripa Kataksha Bhajanam. O you who is humbly bowed to by all the Lord Brahmas of countless millions of universes created by Lord Vishnu. O you who is the bestower of boons to the daughter of the Himalayas, Parvati, to the daughter of Paloma, Indra's wife Sachi, and to Brahma's wife, Sarasvati. O you whose toenails glow with the radiance of boundless mystic perfections and opulent prosperities, when, O when, will you make me the object of your sidelong glance of causeless mercy? Makeshvari, Kriyeshvari, Svadeshvari, Sureshvari, Triveda, Bhariteshvari, Pramana Sasaneshvari, Rameshvari, Shameshvari, Pramoda Kananeshvari, Brajeshvari, Vijadipe, Shiradike, Namostute. O goddess of Vedic sacrifices, O goddess of all pious activities, O goddess of all that is natural and spontaneous, O goddess of all the demigods and goddesses, O goddess of all the knowledge of the three Vedas, O goddess of the enforcement of universal law, O goddess of all the goddesses of fortune, O goddess of forgiveness, O goddess of the most pleasurable forest of Vrindavan, O goddess of the entire realm of Braja, O one and only authority that regulates everyone's entrance into Sri Vrindavan Dham, O Sri Radhika, I offer my most respectful obeisances unto you. Ati mabhutam, ati mama bhutam stavam nisam yabanu nandini karotu santatam janam kripa kataksha bhajanam bhaveta daiva sanchita trirupa karma nasanam bhaveta da brajendra sunu mandala praveshanam. May Sri Vishabhanu Nandini, upon hearing my most astonishing prayer being recited by someone, make that person the constant object of her most merciful sidelong glance. Then at that time, one will feel that all the effects of three types of karma whether entangling one in the past, present, or future, have been completely destroyed. And at such a time, one will finally gain entrance into the assembly of Nanda Nandana's eternal loving associates. Thereby, Sri Radhika becomes so pleased that she instantly bestows a great benediction. And that benediction is, one also meets her own beloved Shyamasundar with one's very eyes. Then that very Lord of Brajadam grants one entrance into his own eternal pastimes of ecstatic daily sports. And other than attaining this goal, there is nothing, but nothing else, which is really hankered for by the true Vaishnavas. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
I have a question from online.
Huh?
I have a question from online, and I have a question myself. Question is, we see that some devotees who engage in intense external preaching and appear quite advanced have fallen down. But Mahaprabhu and Srila Prabhupada are promising us protection if we're engaging in big cities preaching. It's also clear that this mood is the embodiment of Srimati Radharani's ever-growing, expanding mercy throughout Parampara. So what is that causes this fall down, even when engaged in full-time preaching? And how do we as preachers protect ourselves from it so that we can remain a medium of Radharani's mercy?
That's a nice question. Simple answer is that your motivation has not been purified. So, preaching in the West, there's always danger of being attached to the notoriety that you get. I'm a big preacher. You know, people give you money. You can misspend the money. So it's not so much what you do, but the spirit at which you do it. And at the same time, there's different types of deviations. We see that Prabhupada was he was more merciful and lenient when there were individual or personal sensual deviations as opposed to philosophical deviations, which are more serious, and especially if you mislead others, that's more serious than you just have your own problem. But again, this is the all-merciful time of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. Lord Nityananda personally saved Jagai and Madai from Lord Chaitanya's dispatching the Sudarshan Chakra. If you kill them, you have to kill everyone. So, if at first you don't succeed, try again. If you're going to do something that is, shoot for the rhinoceros. So we're following the expert rhinoceros shooter, Srila Prabhupada. So there's all instruction now to safeguard yourself from such danger or fall down. But the devotee is rasagraha. Once having tasted the nectar of the lotus feet of Krishna, one can do nothing but remember that again and again. In due course of time, one will come back. And the ecstasy of spreading and preaching Krishna consciousness is so powerful and purifying that one is assured to become purified ultimately if one keeps with it. So correspondingly, if one is doing it for wrong motivation, then one's ability to do it long term will be put into doubt
or pretty much predictable. They'll stop at a certain point. Why am I doing this? Okay, I put away all my materialistic, I shunned all my materialistic opportunities through my 20s, my 30s, 40s, and, but then if you haven't fully transferred yourself to pure devotional service, then there'll be some doubt, dissatisfaction. So, should always keep in view this glorious goal, spreading Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada, under the most trying circumstances, 4 weeks into a 5-week journey, he's so much fixed in his determination and knowledge that you will get the mercy of the Supreme Lord by Srimati Radharani becoming pleased with you by engaging in the preaching mission of the spiritual master. So we'll be tested. But that test just makes us more strong and more qualified ultimately. Hare Krishna.
One more question about, you were speaking about union and separation.
Yeah.
There's other sampradayas that chant like Radha and Krishna in union. They chant those mantras I believe Pushti Marg chants something like Radha Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Radhe Radhe, Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam. So, but I understand in Gaudiya Vaishnavas, Vipralamba is higher. But then you're saying this pastime where Srila Prabhupada is saying that Radha and Krishna should be always together, worship together. Radha Krishna Gati Mama. So, how do you...
the physical way that the deities are, they're not that.
No, so I was just thinking...
You could your fertile brain, okay, separation is higher, so we'll put Krishna here and put Radharani over.
So how do we kind of...
There's a standard program that all newcomers and neophytes and devotees under regulative principles must follow, The main separation that we see staring us right in the face every day is everyone's separation from Krishna. What is that? Somehow or other I've fallen into this ocean of repeated birth and death. Kindly pick me up from this ocean of death and reinstate me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. So we train our eyes to see everyone's plight. We don't see what they are physically or externally. We see that they're a lost, conditioned soul. And Prabhupada had those eyes, and everyone could feel that he was seeing the real me. To know me means to love me, right? So that type of vision, thank goodness, can only be based, or the foundation can only be based on pure love. Imagine some hideous demon could look through you and just say we're kind of protected. Nobody really understands where we're at, like businessmen and salesmen, they would try to figure out why are the devotees so eager to distribute these books and this and that. The devotees in Germany, they approached some slick advertising, help us to do our thing. And the guy said, look, I could sell you a whole package, but it's going to waste the money. You're already doing, what you're supposed to do. And unless you believe in what you're selling, nobody's going to buy it. And you guys are totally convinced. I'm watching you, And we're not convinced about something foolish. We're convinced about the ultimate goal of life, the nectar for which everyone's always anxious. So, the reality and the conclusion and the Siddhanta is always there as a strong lighthouse in the darkness, and we should just always If we get confused, find our way by recalibrating ourselves with that pole star, Okay? Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, Shri Shri Radha Govinda, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Ryan.